jazz going on. A lot of big topics coming out of this week with Boss Fight Studios having their boss fight, their boss festival happening. I think in the next couple of weeks. We after I have my short 2 week break, we're going to be on the enthusiast, the recent, very brand new um, talkback radio show, I would like to call it. We're going to be going into all the stuff that has happened through the Boss Fest. I know that I hopefully there's going to be a lot of big announcements happening in that big event that Boss Fight Studios are going to be doing in the next I would say next week or so. But today we're going to be having a look at issue number 1909. So if you would like to enjoy this comic, if you would like to enjoy what we're going to be talking about this week, I think one of the reasons, before we actually review this comic, I think one of the reasons why I haven't actually, I, well, what one of the reasons why I've just been solely focusing on my show, which happens on a Sunday night at 7:30 p.m., which I try to anyways. Um, I think one of the reasons why that sort of has taken most of the spotlight on the channel is because obviously I've been very, very busy. I've been interviewing loads and loads of people, and those interviews are supposed to come out after, I would say, after March the 14th, after I get back from my break. So again, my break will be from the 24th of Feb to the 14th of March, and let's get into this comic book. So, The Phantom. We've got issue number 1909, 36 pages, and currently, right now, is being sold for nearly $4. So, we have two stories in this comic book today. We have two stories in this Phantom book today. They are Femme Fatale. I think that worded sentence, I think, has also been used before. I think a couple of years ago, obviously before everything went crazy, but I think a couple of years ago, when obviously a few publications was getting into their groove and obviously publishing a lot of Phantom, I guess we saw this name being used on the cover. I am pretty sure of, I think, the 2018 or the 2019 or 2018 Supernova special. So I guess a couple of years ago, we saw the supernova, and has been happening for it was done last year before everything went crazy. I think when we've seen few publications actually go and spend the money and go and actually participate in the supernova experience, I guess I get so excited when that supernova thing happens. But I guess when this word was actually used, I think back in 2019 or 2018, it was used for, I think, one of the supernova issues, and it was also used for one of the regular issues, um, which I think had to do with um, oh, I think it had to do with it had something to do with the Red Dragons stories that had been coming out in the past year or so. So I think with the Red Dragon series that came out, the Pirates of the Red Dragon series that came out, firstly published by a few publications in 2017, Then it was again published by a few publications last year, possibly the year before, because early last year, we saw the Phantom board game happening, which took, I think, 4 to 5 years, I think. And then I guess the Red Dragon parts, the original stuff was, I think, a 1970s Norman Walker story, I think. Someone might need to correct that for me. Um, it's either Norman Walker or something else. I'm pretty sure it's Norman Walker. But anyways, um, I think with the Red Dragon series, that obviously I have the entire series. I have the sequels. I have the prequels. I have the original story that was published in 2017, and I also have the trade paperback, which was obviously came out just after the trade paper. No, it came out just after the board game came out in 2021. So this, so I guess the first year's cover artist is obviously Ivan Rodriguez. I'm guessing that's from Brazil or Portugal. I can't say that country's name properly. Sorry about that. But one thing, firstly, before I actually start, um, one thing I would like to point out with this story that obviously was published, I think, a couple of days after the New Year's, after the start of 2022, is the detail. The detail in this story, the first story, which is Femme Fatale, I think one of the first things you've got to notice is the detail in Ivan Rodriguez's artworks and his art for the story. I think when we obviously, I'm going to be obviously, um, I think with this artwork, I'm just going to be saying that this artwork, it just reminds me of a mash between, um, don't get me wrong, this is just my opinion. It just reminds me of a match between Caesar Spadari and a match between Joan Boyce, because the level of detail that's in this artwork, it just reminds me of all the old classic Joan Boyce stories. I guess one of the big stories that he did, one of the biggest stories that he did, I think when he was working the Phantom, and he still is, I think one of the big stories he worked on was the Heart of Darkness series, which obviously the Phantom, few publications had been publishing snippets and parts of the Heart of Darkness series, I think in the last, since 2016 or just before 2016. So how's it going, Whispering Grove? Hope you're having a good time. Um, so the story, the Phantom obviously walks into obviously the Lion Bar. As the old jungle saying goes, there are times when the Phantom leaves the jungle and walks the streets of the town like an ordinary man. The bartender says, "Well, Wawa, Nika, take a look at this guy. Talk about wanting to get attention. Oh yes, yes. I thought this story, especially the ending of this story, it was, I would say, it was good. It was very good. That especially the ending part. Okay, so the Phantom, he walks into a bar. The bartender is basically about to ask him if he wants what, alcohol or something. So then the Phantom, obviously, as per usual, asks for a glass of milk. They have a little chuckle to themselves. One of the, I would say, people that comes and is connected to Nika, which is this character right here, which we will find out what happens to her. At the end, one of her friends comes into the bar and is talking about her, I think, boyfriend at the time that I think had got arrested in earlier in the story, which I would say early in the story we don't even have. Earlier in this story, we don't even know what has happened during the Phantom. Not what am I trying to say? So I think before the story obviously starts, we don't even know what has happened in the first 20 odd pages before the story even starts. All we know is that the Phantom has obviously done something. He's ruined someone's plot to or try and do something mischievously. So the Phantom, he obviously the next day he's outside the Skull Cave. He says, "Good morning, Guran." Guran then says, "Hello, Phantom." Guran goes on to say, "So how did it go in Morrison Town yesterday?" The Phantom goes on to say, "I didn't get much done at all. Morrison Town police had already arrested the assassin I was tracking." Gurin goes on to say, "Well, you certainly deserve a peaceful evening once in a while." Phantom goes on to say, "Yes, well, actually, I did run into some kids making bad decisions, but I think I made a lasting impression on him." So we find out what was that lasting impression on him? Where did that lasting impression come from? And how has that got to do with the story that we're talking about right now? How that has stuff to do with what we're talking about right now is because a mischievous gang who is supposed to be doing quiet business and trying to rob a jewelry store doesn't go all to plan. Now, one of the favorite pages in this comic book, one of the favorite pages in this story is this part, this big open splash page right now. So I'm thinking, how how damn long would have that been able to been how long would have that had to been done for? I think that would have taken what would have taken over 5 hours, I'm guessing, if the artist Ivan Rodriguez is a fast drawer. If he's not, it would have taken him. Oh, it would have taken him a long time because I think when I'm actually enjoying a story, you can then sit back and admire the art for what it is. I guess you can do that with every story. You can sit back and you can admire the art that has all the effort that has gone into the story and why the artist has been chosen for the story, I guess. One of the reasons I think Ivan has done a good job on the story is because obviously one of those things is because the level of detail he puts into his art. I guess like I was saying earlier, I guess one of those things where you have a lot of detail, it brings a new perspective to what the viewer or the audience is actually going to try and read. I guess one of the other things that one of the newest stories he's actually written, which everyone knows my opinion on that story, is the Phantom crossover with Raven. Now, as I said, everyone knows my opinion. I'm not going to go over my opinion again because it's just yeah. That that story, yeah, I'm not going to go over it, but the same artist that is Ivan Rodriguez does this story, and you can't tell the difference between you you having a look at the Phantom crossover with Raven. You take that into a matter of fact, and you put his artworks on these pages, and it just amazes me how much work has gone into the story. I know a lot of people, when obviously today I did two drawings for a couple of people, but a lot of people, when they're doing the art, they put a lot of effort into it, and it's nice to see when a person puts a lot of effort into it, and when he wants to put a lot of effort into it, it's just not. It's just nice to see. It's nice to see because it means the person that's putting a lot of effort into it is actually probably passionate about the character. So then the gang goes back and tells, I would say, the ringleader, but we'll get to that. The gang goes back and tells, obviously, I think his girlfriend, he goes back and tells his girlfriend what has happened. Um, they go on with flashbacks, and the Phantom obviously stops them. They are then cowards for not doing the job, not doing a future job that they're wanting to pull out of. The girlfriend then goes on a rampage to try and get attention of the Phantom. She magorously does that in a way to get the Phantom's attention by the newspaper. The Phantom goes to Morrisontown to find out who is spray painting, who are these vandals who are striking again after again to tr- try and get the city to look like someone's just gone around and spray canned the place or spray canned old mate's backyard. Um, so yeah. So then the Phantom is walking on the street. He doesn't necessarily know what's about to actually going to happen to him, but that same person who's wanting attention from the Phantom actually basically gets what she wants. She then goes on an innocent appeal. That doesn't work out. The Phantom then follows the girl to her apartment. The Phantom then misunderstood what the girl was actually. The girl basically betrays the Phantom. So then the Phantom misunderstands why would have that person that he had trusted, why would that person that he has trusted do something like that? And because this person already knows that the Phantom likes milk, she then spikes the milk, which then causes the Phantom to say, why would this person do that? I'm trusting this person to do something and take me and explain what has happened, but then she does something like that. So yeah, it's not so great when I guess something like that happens in the story, but I guess that just adds another level to the plot that we're about to see. So the job is about to get done. The Phantom meets up with the girl. The Phantom's not too pleased with what the girl's just done. The Phantom then has to scrape everything together. Phantom scrapes everything together, but then it ends in tragedy. And one of the co-conspirators actually gets, well, you'd say, commits suicide, and then another person who's connected to that conspirator then basically is killed by the same person who gets suicide. So the ending is intense. Now, one of the panels I would like to talk about right now is this panel right here. Okay, so as I was saying, it's a lot of detail has gone into this art, but as I am saying right now, that panel looks nearly damn the same. Just that face there, nothing else about it. The face, it looks the same sort of panels that is out of Glenn Lubston's version of the Phantom that was published by the Marvel in the 1990s. Now, if that has happened, and if Ivan has somehow got inspiration from Glenn Lubston, I would be amazed if that has actually happened, because if that obviously has happened, that would be awesome. But obviously it's probably not, and just he's just drawn the character like that. The next story that we're going to be talking about is another Phantom by Gaslight story. Now, I think what in the last year or so, Jason Paulos has highlighted on one of the recent, in the last year or so, recent Chronicle Chamber podcasts that he has done huge amounts of stories that haven't been published by a few publications yet. So I think in that video, he actually shows people, the audience, some of the pages from those stories he's obviously created. So we're going to take a brief look at this. So it's called The Scourge, the Air Pirates. It's part one, edited by Glenn Ford, and art and story by Jason Paulos. Now, the basic knowledge of the story is that there's obviously it's based in a fictional world called something like a steampunk sort of era. So we have airships, we have air pirates, airship pirates, we have everything that can do everything that has something to do with a steampunk story is in here, and anything that to do with a steampunk story contributed, and plus the Phantom sort of arc ish, it's in there. It's in there. And yes, we have pirates, we have airships. The airship gets taken over by pirates. It gets shot down out of the sky. The pirates take over. They go to a nearby tribe. The pirates then actually kidnap a so-called daughter of a ship company, as per usual. The Phantom and other people survive. We then see the leader, which, no surprising, is a steampunk female leader sort of person. And what we've seen, what from going back from Lee Falk stories all across Phantom stories that have either been published or are being and wanting and waiting to be published. We've seen countless times what a story could consist, and most of them, a few of them, are actually are basically gangs of women and all that sort of stuff. I think one of the recent stories that I think may be coming out later this year. I talked to Julie Dietrich on my latest show that aired on Monday, which should have aired on Sunday, but you know how it is. Um, I was talking to her, and she was actually saying that the new story that she's actually publishing, that hopefully may come out later this year, she's actually saying that it's obviously a sequel to an old vintage Phantom story, but it also consists in this female sort of arc that was obviously started by Lee Falk, which you would say Lee Falk was one of the first people to. You would say Lee Falk was one of the big first people to do something like that. So this person, the leader of this notorious gang, I would say hates the Phantom, does not like him one bit. So then the shipping, the air shipping company gets and is needing some help. He's needing some help. So they enlist in the help of the Phantom. Then we have the forum, letters, comments, social media. You can get it all at the forum. If you wanted to mail something to Few Publications, you can do that at their PO box at 22. The PO box is 2206 Calverley West, New South Wales 2031, which is the last numbers are the postcode. And if you wanted to email Dudley, you can do that at Dudley at fewpublications.com.au. Did my letter get published in this one? No, it got published last year. So we have the Phantom board game, The Treasures of Dracon. And obviously, you know me, I have 2 copies of that game, which is, I still haven't played it. Yes, I know, I still haven't played it. You can get the Phantom board game for $135, including postage, available from Few Publications or phantomcomic.com.au. Yeah. And then we have the new advert. The Phantom, the Ghost and the Monster. You can get this new graphic novel, #2. Don't miss this one. It is $34.95 plus postage, available now at Few Publications. What happens when the world's greatest myth meets the world's greatest monster? Find it on www.phantomcomic.com.au. A 2022 King Features Syndicate story. So, okay, we've done the comic, and I think my charger, my phone thingo, is going to go flat. So, if you enjoyed this live stream of the ages, it would be nice if you could subscribe. Comment down below if you enjoyed the book. I will be, obviously, this review will be going up obviously after this live stream is actually finished. This review will officially be going up in the next, I would say, next hour or so. So if you would like to subscribe to the PhantomCave Reviews YouTube channel, and as always, you know what I'm going to say. Keep Phantom Caving, and we'll see you next time on the YouTube channel.